Ooh, someone logged in here. Here we go. Put you in the waiting room until the other people log in. All right, we're about 5 minutes early.
If you're not early, you're late.
Oh, here, let me turn down my Pandora. Ooh, Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project. Totally awesome song.
I was actually wondering if it was music I had playing somewhere.
We turn you up, Alex. I'm having trouble turning you there. I got my mic back up, so if you were speaking, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying I thought it was my music playing. I'm like, what do I have playing?
No, that's me. My 80s. Love 80s music. There's a band down in Austin, Texas called the Spasmatics. I go see them whenever I'm down in Austin. They just play the local scene down there. And they dress up like Devo with the piano ties and pots on their head. And they got a keyboardist. And they do perfect covers of all your 80s hits. Thompson Twins, Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, Eraser. I mean, all your, retro 80s bands. And they do awesome job. You would not, Flock of Seagulls, everything. You would not know the difference between like the original band and them when they're up there playing. It's pretty impressive.
Crazy.
All right. We got a few minutes to go. It's a balmy 40-something degrees out there or something. When I left my house this morning at Eagle River, it must be an inversion. It's even warmer up high or what it knows. But anyway, where I live in Eagle River, it was almost 40 degrees when I left the house this morning.
I'm not going to complain about
nice.
not having to do snow.
Because I need to ice chip the walkway, and now I don't have to. It's all melting. Decent little turnout so far. I was going to reach out to Zach Young because Zach's been using a
Daryl.
V8 recently.
Yeah, Daryl every day.
Yeah, ask him to join us so we can talk a little bit about using a VA and what that looks like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, we're waiting for before we get started here. We got a couple minutes. I see we've got we got a bunch of REBA associates on there. This is your guys' opportunity. You got your broker, president of real estate brokers. You got any questions, concerns, real estate challenges, obstacles that you're facing? Now is your open forum time. As long as it's not any confidential information you want to keep. You have any questions on how to handle an issue? Now is your time to go ahead and ask. You turn off your mic and chime in, or you can put it into the chat box. On your little Zoom menu in there, you have a chat option that allows you to type it in there. If you don't see it, go to the bottom menu and under more, you can click on more and should see chat, but open up and then you can see your chat box. It allows you to see things. You see what the questions are. Just like this. Sometimes that's nice if you have a question, you don't want to interrupt the chain of thought. So you just throw it in the chat box, and then as I take a little bit, I'm reading in there. So that's a good place to post it. Of course, if you're working from a computer or something like that. Otherwise, just let us know if you have a question, concern as we go through it. We got 1 minute. I'm just sending some text messages to a couple of people who said they were going to join. I'm just reminding them that we're here. All right, it's 11 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Appreciate you guys joining us. This session is being recorded. We record all these sessions, and these sessions go on the REBA Lounge for the REBA Real Estate Brokers of Alaska Associates. Those are actually held in archive. You can access them through REBA Lounge, or we can send you links to past education. For those individuals that are not associates or real estate brokers of Alaska, you can only attend these if you're in the class. If you're in these, you only see them. Otherwise, you don't have the past content. But every Tuesday from about 11 to 12, 12:30, real estate brokers, I teach REBA University. We bring in anybody from well and septic inspections to commercial well and septic inspection experts to commercial lenders, a host of different items as regarding the real estate industry. Unlike most real estate education, for those of you who haven't attended here, we don't focus a lot on like how to have a big open house and how to do those things. A lot of the real estate brokers education that we have is primarily on how to make sure that your business is run at a really high professional level, and particularly as far as contract issues and negotiating contract concerns. So, disclosure issues and dealing with conflict resolution. Basically, our intention is not to teach you just how to sell real estate, but how to be the best in the industry at what you do. And you happen to be attending one of our classes. One of the largest complaints that we typically have is in this business, we just run out of time, right? When I first got into the business, guys, the purchase and sell agreement was 6 pages, okay? Now that was in 2007, 2008. The purchase and sell agreement that we fill out was literally 6 pages. Does anybody have any idea how many pages that document is today? Just the standard purchase and sell agreement. All right. Yeah, well, it's about 10 pages now, plus disclosures. So when you add 40% onto something, you'd be really surprised that even though these seems to add and every year you look in there and little paragraphs get changed, how little education and training there is on what that looks like. However, we as licensees got to deal with these issues. We've got to make sure that we're informed of what these contract changes do. And the best, see, as a real estate professional, an individual who sells real estate, or if you're just dealing with it, there's only a handful of things you should be really focused on doing, okay? right? You should be meeting with clients and finding out what their concerns are. You should be writing contracts, negotiating offers, and seeing things through to close. And obviously just over communicating with your database and going back and just checking on people. That's it. But everything else ends up being a distraction, but it ends up taking a lot of time. When I first got into the business, again, back in 2002, 2007, 2008, I discovered real quick that there was a lot of things that had to be done, and I wasn't the best person to do them. I came from construction. I came from a construction background. I can fix anything, whether it's a roof, a heating system, fractured concrete and foundation issue, name to the gambit. And then there's certain things that I probably wasn't the best one to do, right? I mean, shuffle through 14 pages of paperwork and look for spelling errors and things like that literally will just give me a migraine. But they're important, right? In real estate, our business is in contracts. It just so happens to be real estate, but really we're in a contract business. So it was important to have those individuals that are really detail oriented going through and helping with that part of the business. And that's the part that we call leverage, right? Truth is, you can't be good at everything. So I hired my first assistant with only 6 months in the business. 6 months in the business, I had enough leads coming in. I said, you know what? I'm hiring my assistant. And then from there on, I have picked up another assistant. And what was happening is that is not inexpensive, okay? But it is critical. I mean, if a title company needs information on, hey, I need the seller's contact information, I need an email address, are they married, last face of, people just asking all these questions, you got to circle back around and loop and herd cats to get it. Listen, it's not that it's not important stuff. It has to get done. But if I'm helping someone negotiate a contract, do I have time to then, oh, wait, there's a resale certificate that needs to get ordered. I need to let the courier know to go pick it up and bring it back to the office. Those are time killers. All these gotta minutes are time killers. Guys, just clearing my emails every day of the 200 plus emails I receive a day and just knowing which ones are relative and which ones are hot garbage and which ones are spam and unsubscribing from emails, all that stuff is critical. It's got to be done, but it just bogs you down. And then what happens is in our businesses, we end up working in the business instead of on the business. We never grow because we're so mired down in the minute. And so what ended up happening is I couldn't afford the leverage that I needed. And so probably about 2011, I started looking at the possibility of using virtual assistants, and that is people that weren't in the United States, just to do stuff that was out. Started with looking at Fiverr and different places. Contacted a company called MyOutDesk. MyOutDesk did okay, but they were really expensive. And essentially what happened is I started building my own VA team. So what we're going to discuss today is we're going to discuss the things in your business that slow you down, the things in not just your real estate business, but as far as property management, contracting. I don't care what business you're in. If you have administrative, you have anything that you've done more than once, you have a system for it. And you have two choices. You can either hire someone locally, which is fantastic, give someone a job. But some of these items, they're not that they're below the level of hiring someone locally, but there is a more efficient way of doing them, right? And we're going to talk about efficient ways of running your business and using virtual leverage. So one of our guests today here is Alex Eissler. Alex, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Alex, tell people a little bit about what you do in your company.
Yeah, so I think we're all kind of in the same boat, right? Most of us have lots of things happening on our life. And so what we did was I created a company called MyVirtualPro. And the value that MyVirtualPro brings to people is it allows you to have your life back, right? And so that you can do the things you want to do, whether that's spend more time with your clients, spend more time with your family, go on vacation. I'd ask everybody to think about what are you doing right now? Well, I am attending a meeting with you guys, and there's somebody else also producing work for me that is of value. So I'm actually doing two things right now. They help me manage my personal life. They help me manage my properties. I have 25 apartment units. And so I have a short slide deck we can walk through. And I think the reality is that we can all work 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 24 hours a day kind of thing. And it's all about return on time, right? How much time do you put in and what do you get for return? I personally enjoy working. So I wanted to figure out ways to work more. and work harder. And with having some virtual assistants, like Kevin explained, there are people that are able to take the tasks, one, that I'm not good at, and two, they help automate the business, right? So that it's not always a one-off. There's, systems in place, so on and so forth. And that, do you want me to run through the slide deck, or what were you thinking?
No, real quick. I kind of want to talk about my experience so people can see how that kind of grew. So, and how this took off, because what had happened was, I found that in my life, there's things that I needed were very unique. There's certain parts of the business I loved doing and I didn't want to give up. Okay. The most important thing was to be the problem solver. I never, as a real estate professional, that is the last thing in your business, or even, I don't care what your business is, never leverage out being the problem solver. Always be the person who shows up and says, oh, I got this, I'll take care of it, right? Long as you do that, then people in your business will associate as being a problem solver. However, there's a lot of things that aren't problems, but are inconveniences that can get leveraged out. And there's a big difference in knowing the difference between problems and inconveniences. So let me tell you a little bit how I started using VAs when I first got into business and how it spread out into other areas of my life. Okay. So when I first started using VAs, and I used Gino, and at one point I had 5 virtual assistants in the Philippines working for me. I had individuals building my flyers, making flyers, doing everything, editing photographs, everything that's needed. So when I had a listing take place, had someone wanted to sell a house. Okay. What's important? Yeah, it's important to get the photos taken, and have the signs delivered, and have the lockbox. That isn't things I need to do. Once there's a system, I had the VAs contacting the sign company, contacting the photographer, scheduling it out, putting it all together. Once the photos came back, organizing those photos in the proper time, so they're from the time you walk through the door and they're in the proper manner. Looking at them, making sure they're high quality, they're good resolution, getting rid of stuff. Making sure all the documents are filled out and the disclosures say what they're supposed to, there's no missing boxes, and then bring it to my attention if a client didn't fill out stuff properly. And hey, Kev, they missed this, they didn't do their signatures, bring it to my attention so I can go back and go, hey, we're missing signatures, right? So it started off as all these little things. Then it grew. Gino, my VA, if I had 5 properties I wanted to see, I would just email the 5 properties to Gino, and Gino would organize them on a map using Google Maps on which direction, using mostly left-hand turns, made the most common sense to negotiate, would contact the property owners and say, hey, Kevin Cross with Real Estate Brokers of Alaska wants to see your property. He wants to see it between 1 and noon. Is that possible? Fantastic. Are there any special showing instructions? Is the key in the lockbox? Hey, please email him at this email if there's any additional disclosures or anything that's important before he shows your property. They would actually go through and schedule. Why? So that I can spend time with my clients. Listen, it's important to call other realtors and call and schedule showings. But if I'm giving my client my full attention and my time and I'm negotiating contracts, that is, again, an inconvenience or something else I could have leveraged out. He would then take those properties and put them in a PDF, not in a PDF, but in a Excel spreadsheet with here's where you're going to be. This is where you're supposed to be. Here's the times. Here's where the lockbox is located. And oh, by the way, here's a link to the listing. So in a PDF, in Excel on my phone, I would look at in the email and I would just click and boom, it would pop up and take me to Flex. Like, here's where you're at and here's the property. So everything I needed. He would send the same email to my client and going, hey, here's the properties we're going to see in this order, right? And so like that blew my mind. I was like, oh, well, how much more could I be using these people? Then it started spreading in my personal life, organizing my electric bills because everything's paid online. So then they started organizing, creating accounts for all my properties. Here's what your utility bills are. Here's your utility usage. Creating a number using a tool called Slide Dial, where my tenants weren't calling me anymore. They were calling the VAs with tenant concerns, and then they would create and document everything. And guys, it just grew. There's a reason that a guy I own, that my wife and I own of 60 rental properties, we're selling some, so a little less than that now, and I self-manage and own 6 other businesses. Not only just a real estate broker and a real estate salesperson, but now starting a laundromat and a contracting business and rehabbing properties. Guys, I don't have more than 24 hours. I wasn't blessed with anymore. In fact, I'm at a disadvantage because I'm easily distracted. So my 24 hours are less than yours because my gotta minutes don't last a minute. They last 20 minutes because I go on some tangent about how much I love snow machining and forgot what I was working on. So I'm here to tell you that I'm not doing anything that you and all your business can't do. And so Alex started with Virtual Property Pro because, Alex started this company with an intention to help property owners. But what we discovered is that it doesn't end there. That's just the beginning of helping with your properties. There's so many more things you could be using virtual leverage to do outside of just helping you with your properties or your real estate business. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, and I'm going to let Alex talk a little bit more about all the different things that the VAs do and what they can do for you. So give me just a second. Advanced. Let's see what we've got here. Let me close this. Oh, I need to open it up before we can share it. No wonder. There it is. Okay. I'm not sure this is working because it's weird. I've got an error on my Zoom. It's not showing me what screen. So updated device on it, and forgive me, I've got an error code on my Zoom.
Kevin, what's that website you said it was again with that virtual property?
Oh, it's Alex, what is it?
I'll put it in the link. I'll chat it out.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let me and I apologize, I'm having a technical difficulty. When I'm trying to do my Zoom meeting here, it's telling me an error on screen share. Alex, I don't know if you're able to open yours and screen share.
Disable my screen share so that I'm not able to.
Oh, what? Here. I can do it. Allow, record, enable, put in waiting room, remove, stop video, highlight, spotlight video. Boom. Here, I just made you the host.
So I don't know if I want that.
You should be able to do whatever you want now. You've got controls of the ship. And I apologize, my screen share is not working with my Zoom. I might have to go in and update my computer.
All right, we're gonna run through a quick presentation that we put together.
Oh, look at you. Yours worked.
And then we can do questions, answers. I think I might put Zach on the spot for him to tell us how he uses his virtual assistant through us, and so on and so forth. So, I think you've heard from Kevin that, having somebody to help you is essential, right? You can't run a business by yourself. You can't scale by yourself. You need people to leverage. All of our businesses are a product of time in. The amount of time you put, investment you put in, that's what you get out of it, right? So I'm sure all you guys know this, but almost every large company in the US uses some level of virtual offshoring, outsource type work. It's been, the big guys have been doing it for decades now. And I think that as the world economy has become accessible to everybody, we can start to allow some of these systems and processes and people that are offshore, not necessarily available that weren't always available to everybody in everybody's business unless you were like Fortune 1000. Now it's available to us all, and that we should be leveraging ourselves for that. Obviously, we all know that our greatest value is time, right? You can't get more of it. There's only so much time you can spend in the day, and the goal is that your VA is there to save you a bunch of time so that you don't have to worry about, getting those late night emails, putting the kids to sleep, then going back and finishing up your day, that you can, be done when you're ready to be done, and that there's somebody supporting you, so on and so forth. So some of the things that, I think everybody has a hard time when they first look at virtual assistants or assistants period, right? Is what can I give them to do? How do I let them take over some of my tasks, right? Most of us are a little bit controlling, right? We want to make sure that it's done the way we want it done. We want it to do it ourselves. But the reality is that the way to be successful is to allow other people to do stuff for you, and you just manage that so that you can be doing it. I use the wording, have your virtual assistants or your assistants do low cost work so that you can do high cost work, high value work. All these people are, very well trained. They read, they write, they can, probably better than I do in all reality. And so, they can create your CMAs, they can do research, they can help you manage your drip campaigns, they can answer your phone calls, they can, they kind of get the advantage of doing dual persona too, right? So you're not only creating a team so that your clients understand that you have additional people supporting you, but sometimes they act on your behalf, and they act as your persona. So you get the advantage of that. You now have a team of people. Your admin can help you, but also they can act in your place under your persona when they need to.
So let me chime in on that, Alex, just to give examples of some of those things that, again, because I think what happens is we get too limited in our thinking of what VAs can do. So here's some of the things that my VAs do that are the biggest asset to me. All my clients get follow-up Friday, and Friday they get an email from the VA that says, here's how long your property's been on market, here's how many people have looked at it, here's all the showing feedback, here's where it can be found everywhere, here's the market statistics, here's how many houses have sold in your neighborhood that are priced accordingly, and all the data. So they get an exhaustive information, which I call follow-up Friday, with all that. And then, hey, listen, if you have more questions, contact Kevin directly after you review this information. So then he sends out those things so that they have an understanding of where I'm coming from. So when I have a conversation with them, I'm not regurgitating information. They help with billing, not only billing clients and stuff like that, but watching invoices come in and out, and they help with the QuickBooks. So the accounts receivable. And one of the things I really love about Gino and my team is that they do research and data. So whether it's pulling together comps on a CMA because you can get a super user account for your flex, or to be honest with you, guys, I was looking for some used bar stools for one of my businesses. I wanted to put some nice chairs in there, and I figured there's a bunch of restaurants going belly up. I just took Gino and said, Gino, go find all the defaulted failing restaurants and see if any of them are selling any of their equipment. And Gino went out and called them and found them and came up with a list, put them in a spreadsheet for me, and go, here are the restaurants that have gone other where you can pick up discount furniture, and here's the contact, and here's what they have. Like, is that super helpful? Yes. And for a couple bucks an hour to have someone obtain all that custom data for me is just mind blowing how convenient it is.
Yeah.
So thanks, Alex.
I think the list is indefinite, and it's all about, and the nice thing about your virtual assistant, they're just like any employee you hire, right? They take a little bit of time to get set up. And then also it's about continuing education, just like you guys have CME requirements. Like, I take a portion of my day, and, if there's something that I would like my assistant to take over in the long run, but they don't feel comfortable with it now, maybe they don't have the skills. Well, it's like, okay, well, why don't you go spend the next, week, 2 weeks, month, with some self-help tools and gain that skill. And it's a value to you, and it's a value to them, right? They want to learn additional skills, so that as they, maybe they move on, that kind of thing. They have more to bring to their next client. And then I think, Kevin's already beat this, but it's about streamlining our business and about systems, right? Automation is what allows us to get things done quicker, faster, better. Our customer experience is better for our clients. Our customer experience is better for our coworkers, so on and so forth. And they can help you. I'm a sticky note person, and every morning I go through my sticky notes and go, okay, which one of these items have I, one, had sticky notes for more than once of the same thing, and two, which one of these sticky notes can I give to somebody else to work? I always ask myself, is this something that I need to do, or is it something that I can delegate to somebody else? And then, like you said, managing your calendar, setting up schedules, like, your calendar can be available to access to them. You can use tools like Calendly and things like that. And you could have your day set up for you without you ever having to talk to your customers, because as long as somebody's managing your calendar, it's up to date. They know when you're available. If you're not available, you can block things out. They can manage your CRMs and your emails. I don't know about you guys, but I have stacks and stacks of files that always are constantly unruly, that needs to get taken care of. And then, like I said, I have properties, and checklists are kind of the way that you manage your properties if you're going to self-manage them, and making sure that, my tenants have somebody to call. I don't take tenant calls either, just like Kevin, my virtual assistant, takes all those. They send me an email. If it's a super high priority thing, like, there's water leaking, they give me a call or shoot me a text.
I had one of those this morning.
Yeah. Knock on wood, I don't have any now that I said it. But and then if it's something that's like let's take the example of there's a small repair that needs to be happening, and we need to get, and maybe it's an appliance and we need to get reliable appliance out there kind of thing. They can call and schedule that appointment and so on and so forth. And, you know, I just get an email saying, hey, you know, the stove stopped working. It was a broken element in the oven. Call them out kind of thing once they get to know how you want it run.
So one of the individuals I see, and I don't know if it is still Zach in here. Zach started using a VA recently, and I don't know if Zach wants to chime in a little bit about, you know, how they assist you in your business and the kind of things that they do for you. Zach, do you mind sharing what you use your VA to do?
Yeah, so I started working with Alex and Kevin's company, MyVirtualPro, probably 2 months ago now, maybe 2.5, and it's been pretty helpful. I would say that the skills that the VAs have is pretty wide ranging. You know, they have a couple of different people that you can work with, ranging from graphic design to like writing up form letters, you know, relatively wide skill sets. For me, the biggest challenge has been finding things that I can consistently delegate that it actually helps me with my business. Because, you know, when you're delegating to someone, there's always a way that you want something done, and then a way that people might perceive what that thing is. So for me, it's really helped to write more in-depth, like operating procedures on the task that I want done. Like for instance, I had them super use and do CMAs for me. And, you know, I create videos and use some of the videos on the MLS, and they can consistently now perform a CMA that's up to the standard that I would generally provide to my clients. They do things for me like CRM management to make sure that after I have a conversation, if I'm updating one platform, because, you know, I have several platforms digitally that capture leads for me, that's getting transferred over to my main database. They've created several flyers for me. I'm having them work on Christmas postcards. They did excellent Thanksgiving postcards to some of my clients. So like I said, that there is a wide range for anyone that's thinking about a VA. I would definitely recommend, as you start the process, just make sure you have a pretty well-defined list of tasks that you want them to do. And generally, if you have a little bit of communication with your VA, they're going to be able to perform those very well and a lot more efficiently than you might think.
Zach, you nailed it right on the head. I think that's one thing that's really critical is you need to understand that, you know, you're hiring these virtual assistants. They're virtual assistants. They are not babysitters. And I think there's a big difference in that we assume that we just hire someone and they're going to understand the job. And that's, you know, but everybody does things a little differently. It's funny. I've been in real estate forever. I've never met two real estate professionals that even do CMAs the same way, right? Nobody does it the same way. We all basically have picked up tricks and tips that we do it. And then you would think we all do it, but we don't. However, we expect people just to know how you do things. And the biggest mistake most people make when they hire a VA is assuming that they just know everything, but you do have to take time in order. And it's, listen, whether you hire someone who sits in your office or whether you hire a virtual assistant, your success or failure happens one conversation at a time. And if you're not having regular conversations with these individuals about your expectations and here's where you can get additional training or doing that, it's not their fault if they don't work. That's your fault. When you become a business owner and you start bringing on employees, your role shifts. And your first line of clients is actually the people who work for you. They're the people you have a responsibility to. And so making sure you communicate with them on, you know, on your expectations of what needs to be done. And so, and a lot of times it's easy to take your eyes off that target because we get so busy doing tasks that we're like, oh my gosh, you know, I got to put my hands back on the wheel. But I really appreciate that, Zach. That's exactly right. I don't know if anybody else in our group has been using VAs and use virtual assistants. But let's talk a little bit about how you set that up. I mean, let's say, hey, the first thing you want to do is you create a not to-do list. Here's the things in my business that drag me down that I need to create, or I have a system for that I can leverage towards someone else and that I'm willing to dedicate towards someone to train them to do so that I can go do more profitable things. Okay. So that's the first step. Then Alex, once I have that list, what does that look like if I contact your business and now I want to take that next step?
Yeah, so one of the things we worked on, and we're still growing and learning. We've grown a ton in just the last few months, and there's obviously things we're learning, and feedback from Zach and our customers is important, and so on and so forth. But our model is kind of twofold. We realize that not everybody needs a full-time dedicated VA. Some people do. I do. Kevin does, and I personally believe that as you use your VA, everybody gets to the point where they need a full-time person, because that person just becomes their, right hand. But we realized that everybody needs kind of a walk, crawl, run scenario. So what we did was we created the idea of a shared service, a shared VA. And, you contact me, it's pretty quick to get set up, and we talk about your needs, what your priorities are, kind of get an idea of what type of tasks you're looking. We have a plethora of employees now. I think we're up to 5 or 6 that have different skill sets. And so what we do is we try to match you with somebody that is, going to work well with you. Do you want somebody who's completely behind the scenes? Okay, we have great people that do that. Do you want somebody that will, call and talk to your customers, or call and talk to your vendors, or take inbound calls for you? Okay, we have people that do that pretty well, very well, I should say. And so once we've had that intro, we kind of have an onboarding call and an introduction with you and your potential virtual assistant. You can ask them questions. You can kind of tell them about their what your business does and what you're looking to be done. They can ask you any questions, and you're kind of off to the races. And it's a monthly subscription service that gets billed once a month. And then as you need more assistance, you can either get, you start with a part-time, you can go to half-time, you can go to 3/4 time, you can go to full-time, and you just end up getting more and more help. And then the nice thing about the team is that if there's something that your assistant isn't proficient in, maybe you need a video edited and that's not something that your VA is great at, there's a good chance that somebody within the organization has those skills, and we can easily get that done for you. So I think that there's the primary skill of admin services, which is a long list of things you can do, but there are also other things, graphic design, web design, those type of things that can be done for you. So it's about just setting up service. It takes a couple days to get set up, and then like Kevin said, people don't come they come educated, they don't come trained. And then I think Zach will agree with me that it takes the first month or even 2 months potentially to really get where you feel like you're in this ebb and flow with your virtual assistant, and can really walk away from the or take your hands off the steering wheel is probably a better analogy. But I was just thinking, one of the other things that I know Gino does, and most of the virtual assistants do for their realtors. I am not a realtor, so I'm a property owner, so I can give great advice on how we can help.
I think it's great that I think that's great that you have that outside perspective on how they're helping you, even though you're not in real estate sales.
Yeah, right.
And I'll be honest, probably 40% of what my VAs do for me have nothing to do with real estate sales.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean,
so it'll let you
some of it is, guys, I have them shop airline tickets for the best deal. Like, how long does it sit on sign and go on Expedia and go on all these different websites and look for perfect travel dates and see what that is and see what the shortest route is and what that is? Listen, I ought to tell them is, hey, listen, I'm looking to travel from Anchorage to, I don't know, to Arizona, and I'm looking to go sometimes towards the second half of December for about 10 days. Find me the best deal.
Yeah.
Like a travel agent. Go find me a great deal of hotels. Go find, like, guys, anything that you're doing behind the computer, they can do. They can go and just get that information and shoot it to you. And even as a real estate licensee, I had a client looking for an obscure property up in Meadow Lakes with certain requirements. I was like, are you curious? And nothing was on the market. He's like, well, but here's the property owners who own that. I had him go through and just find and create a spreadsheet of all the property owners who own properties that were similar to what my client was looking for, and then go through People Finder and all these things and come up with the best phone numbers, see if he could find their Facebook profiles or whatever it was, put it into it, and then said, here's the 10 people that I know that you can get hold of, and create call lists for me. Circle prospecting, names, numbers, that kind of stuff, anything that you're looking for. Guys, it's amazing. You're really limited only by your creativity and understanding that you know, that way, you know, what's really important here is that when you bring someone on to do these things, one, you train them. Two, you utilize them wisely. And three, don't ever think that this is an excuse for you not to do productive things. If you're going to bring in somebody, again, but you're not taking time to either go lead generate or build your business or do whatever that looks like, then, you know, then you are wasting your money. You're not bringing in leverage. You're bringing in an excuse to be lazy. Okay. So listen, if I owned a landscaping company, okay, and I owned a lawn maintenance company, I would be using my VA to find who like if I had existing clients and I was out in the field running my crew, I'd be using my VA to find out who the people are around my existing clients and create a mail set and then find them on Facebook or whoever it is and send them invites and go, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I mow your neighbor's yard and I take care of them. I'll be in town on Thursday. If you'd like, I'll mow your lawn this one time for 30% off. If that sounds like something you're interested in, since I'll be next door, I mean, I'd be utilizing them to do these lead generation activities or do things like that, right? I mean, creating, you know, whether it's a thank you or whatever that looks like, all those things that are important, but are not you engaged in those things in your business. See, anytime that you choose to go, you know, if you're choosing to do a $5, $10, $15 an hour job when there's $100 and $200 an hour jobs in your business that aren't being touched, you basically are doing yourself a disservice. So pick those really expensive things that are the most valuable parts of your time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it. And you know, I think that it's important that, like, you know, I don't know how many times you've sat on the phone with the utility company trying to get, you know, high, low, average type information so that you can crunch the ROI on a piece of investment property, or, you know, it's something, you know, Kevin has never done this to me, but prior to Kevin being my realtor, I remember once a real estate agent had me call the utility companies to have the, to get that information to provide to the other side of the service. And, you know, the nice thing is that a VA can do that. You know, they can do that and be writing an email for you while they sit on hold with data WU for 35 minutes kind of thing. So, you know, it's just extra service you can get done, you know. And MyVirtualPro, we definitely started in the real estate world and property, you know, property management, wrong word, but, you know, property support. And now we have realtors, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have other, you know, technology business customers. So it really is, they're able to perform any set of work for you that you can imagine, as long as it's, you know, you're willing to give them the time to do it and train them. And then set expectations reasonably. If it takes you an hour to do something, it's going to take them an hour to do it, right? They're not doing it faster than you do it, kind of thing. They're just able, it's just another person to work on with you. So I guess that's kind of the spiel. I'll definitely leave my information in the contact. I don't know if anybody has any questions for Kevin or myself, but I'd be glad to answer them.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are willing to chime in. If you have a business outside real estate, or you have something, now is your chance to ask how a VA can help you. I would love to explore these because I have found, at least in mine, I'm pretty creative in finding very useful things for your VA to do. So does anybody own a business outside of real estate, property management, that they care to chime in? They either want to ask a question either in the chat box, or perhaps you just turn your mic off and let us know, you know, an outside business and curious on how they can help you. We'd love to have that dialogue. Again, I've used them in contracting business, you know, finding deals, researching deals for me. If you have a calendar and you're using your Google, and you have a Google Calendar, I have them sending text messages, because there's some really good tools for your VAs to use, by the way, where they have an Alaska phone number, right? Where they can text, email, and everything just like they're in Alaska. Say, hey, Kevin, is it okay
what service is that? What service is that?
The one that we use is SlideDial.
Okay.
And then,
We use,
hey, Anna, do you remember the name of some of the other tools that we use for the VAs that allow us to use their phone numbers and stuff? What are the ones that we're using?
Trello.
Trello is an organization. We use Slide Dial. Is there any others that we're using?
Google Docs.
All right. All right, Google Docs, different things like that. I was trying to think of what's for communication. I believe it's Slide Dial.
Google Voice.
Yep.
You know, if you have an iPhone, it's really neat because they can actually log into your iPhone via iCloud. They can't make calls for you, but they can answer your texts and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think we have a couple questions in the comment. The first one's asking if it's okay to exchange information in the chat section. I'm gonna assume.
Yep. So Dev asks, she says, I do short sales. And is there anything you can help with this sort of business? Absolutely. So on your short sales, as you know, you get an authorization or release that allows you to communicate with the lender, right? And see where things are at in process, or to put in applications and process that. So on your authorization or release, you can put, when I used to do a ton of short sales. I remember one year I did over 30 short sales in 1 year. My authorization or release would include my name and then my associates, and would include a couple other names of individuals. You could include your VA in there to go in and get updates from the lender on where the status is. Okay. Now we understand that like a short sale is basically applying for a loan in reverse. You still got to share all that stuff. So, you know, we used to make sure that you didn't submit a short sale package unless it was 100%. So do I have my bank statements? Is my hardship letter in there? Is the last year's taxes, everything you need? I think it's a lot more streamlined than it used to be. It was easier. But even just, keeping a record of your showings and the feedback for the client and where we're at in the status report. Yeah, I would say, oh, you do art sales, not short sales. It says art sales.
Well, if you do short
That's totally
sales,
different.
I don't know what to do.
Now you know. All right, so art sales. Yeah, okay. So how about this? If you do art sales and you have art, what if you took some pictures of your art and some really nice ones, and then you turn it to your VAs and you had them do the advertisement and post your art on all the different marketplaces and things that there are? Or go find groups of individuals that take. So if you did nature art, right, and you did pictures of mountains, I would be finding outdoor running clubs. I'd be finding people who love the outdoor groups. And I would go, hey, listen, here's a beautiful picture I painted for those who love trails. Here's some things you might do. And they might take over your social media advertising, right?
Yeah.
They can also, if you create your own Facebook group where you're not your profile page, but a background page, you can make them an admin. And then if people had questions about it, they could automatically respond to those with prices, links to your website, things like that. Okay. They can also research independent art stores and find out other places for you to distribute your artwork through. They could even run an eBay account, or you could start you place that stuff on eBay. If you want to sell your light on eBay, they could set up the account, regulate those things, and do all that, as well as optimize those things, create embedded links for your art so that other people looking for things are drawn to you. They could set up your Google Places account and establish your Google Places so that if people search Alaska art, you show up on there because you have a place rank. They understand all that because a lot of them are very, very well trained in social media. As well as just on the backside, if you're running bills and you're receiving invoices, if you're selling art, if you need to create a streamlined process for then having your art delivered, making sure they have a receipt, and then, hey, once they receive your art, do they love it? How do they rate you? Can they recommend you to other people? Well, you don't want to be the person who has to go back and remind. You typically have to remind people 3 or 4 times to give you a review. And so, hey, they can be doing that, saying, hey, I hope you really love this. You'd be helping us a lot if you could just give Dev a review. So all that backside stuff, so that you're doing what? You just focus on making beautiful paintings. You focus on whatever beautiful art that it is that you do, and then find a really good photographer to take it, and then hand all that off to the virtual assistants to be your marketing managers.
Yeah.
How can I get a VA to help me in my real estate leads for a real estate? So even ask a real estate lead. So here's one thing I do. I have leads come in from all sorts of places. Zillow, Chime, my Rex business leads. Guys, I have leads come in, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not good at herding cats. So one thing my VAs do is I get these emails, they go through, they double check them. Look, if the guy's name is, Screw Off 47, obviously that's not a real lead. And so my VAs go through and they basically scrub them before they send me the best ones. They'll go in and verify this is a real person. Is this one actually tamed? They take a look at their profile. A lot of times if I'm with another client, they'll just send a quick link, say, hey, you know what? Kevin's with another client, but he'll respond real quick. But here's a link to some additional disclosures and information on the property. And they'll send those and start communications. And if they respond, then they'll tell me, Kevin, this guy responded to the email. You need to call him right away. They'll send me a text message. I actually find that works better than the automated systems that are in most of your CRMs, because having that human perspective of is this real or whatever it is, because you guys realize even the automated systems on CRM let a lot of garbage through, right? I don't deal with that. I have somebody who scrubs that even further for me. So different things in your real estate, dealing with real estate leads. Oh, here's another thing I use for my real estate leads, okay? If I have any clients looking for an investment property, looking for something, then, you know, I let mine, again, my guy is Gino, that's mine. So you guys you'll have a different one. So when you hear me say Gino, Gino's the name of my right-hand guy who's been working for me for years. But I will give the buyer profile to Gino and I'll say, Gino, I have a client looking for a 4-plex, 6-plex, 8-plex in this price range, meets these criteria. So if something hits the market that's close, or something that looks like it would be interesting, but it's not on the market, Gino will get all the utility. He'll sit on hold with utility companies, get the high loan averages, call the property manager, get the rent rolls, find out everything he can, order a property profile from a title company, and create a package of information on this property that's both on the MLS and off the MLS, give it to me for my review, and then say, hey, you know what, boss? Based on what you've told me, this looks like a great deal. I will then take that deal, verify the information, like, yes, this is a great deal. And then I will take that information and go out and contact my clients. So my clients don't realize it when they hire me, but they have somebody, not just me, out there aggressively finding phenomenal opportunities. If you have a client, so, you know, every day you wake up or every day you're hitting the hot sheet, you know, you're waiting for your client. Well, you want somebody who, when a property that's really awesome hits the market, not just emails, but hopefully texts them and says, hey man, you need to go take a look at this property right away. Well, my VAs do that for me. I've taught them how to bird dog properties. Let's see what else we've got here. I'm just looking for a couple questions.
Forgot to mention, your VA works on your time zone, right? So these people are used to working. It's the middle that they work a night shift on their time kind of thing, but they're there during the daytime for you. I think there's some misconception sometimes that, you know, they work off hours or they don't, you know, it takes extra time because, you know, they're on a different time zone kind of thing. But the majority of your VAs work on your time zone.
Yeah, in fact, I will tell you, I had VAs work on my time zone and I had VAs work on their time zone, and it was awesome. So one of the things that you got to realize is that when they're about 11-hour time difference, so they're working nights, okay, which doesn't slow anything down. It still works great for us. But there are certain things in your business that, like, let's say every day you like to do client follow-up and check in every day from, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You want to just go back and voraciously follow up with any of your past business leads or whoever that looks like. Well, what does that require? That requires you have a list of who you're going to call, what property, your past business, what that looks like. Well, guess what? You could hire a VA and give them access to your database, and by the time you hit, and they can work on their time. And by the time you wake up in the morning, there's a list of who you need to call that day. And you can go into your Excels and your product, and you can make your notes. Okay. And they make your notes and they can update that for you. Here's one thing I used a VA for. I used to be a productivity coach over at the other brokerage I used to work at Big Red, right? So I used to teach other licensees how to be productive, and we would sit on a Zoom call. Well, my VA would sit in the background and listen. So let's say that you're meeting with clients now virtually or on Google Chat. You allow them to listen in, and they take all the notes on everything. And they compile and update your database, and they make sure. So if you're like, oh, you know what? I'll get you that information. Oh, you need a carpet contractor? Oh yeah, I'll send you that. Well, they're back there taking notes. So when my conversation ends, they're the ones going back, putting them in touch with my carpet guy, making sure that I send whatever information, putting them on an automatic drip campaign for whatever it is that they use. You just allow them to listen in on your coaching sessions and stuff like that. And then they can be an extension of yourself, provided you just have it, just in a business environment. So Corey White asked a question, Alex, can you mention anything about the cost of your VA business for service? Okay, excellent. So what are some of the costs that run?
Yeah, so I think in general, everybody's has memberships and subscriptions, and we really tried to keep it simple. If your VA's cost, starts at $300 a month, and that's for a shared VA, and scales up to about $1,500 a month if you wanted a full-time dedicated person. And then it's all multiples of 300. So, your 300 gets you a single slot with a VA that has somewhere between 4 and 5 customers. So you can do the math. It comes out to be about 10 hours a week per slot kind of thing. It's a little bit less when you take into consideration just other things that employees have to do as general employee things, like leave and sick leave, vacation, that kind of stuff. We do provide all of our employees 2 weeks of vacation paid per year. They get holidays off, that kind of thing. So it really depends on what you need. I generally tell people to think about it not as an hourly service. Obviously, you can do the back end math and get what it comes out to be per hour. But the reason the shared service works really well is that somebody might be on vacation and have no work that week, and so that VA may be spending half the week working with you that week because one of his clients has a lot of work. All of our businesses have an ebb and flow, and so the idea behind obviously a dedicated VA is there 40 hours a week dedicated to you kind of thing, but the idea behind the shared is that as you need, you can have a high-end week where you maybe get 10, 15, 20 hours worth of work kind of thing, but the next week might be slow and you have a couple hours worth of work. And so by making it kind of a shared you get the ability to have the attention you need when you need it, and then if you go from there. Does that answer the?
I believe so, Alex. Just to build off it, so just to understand, we're not the only, or Virtual Property Pro is not the only virtual assistant company out there.
Right.
I used My Outdesk for many years, and they would give you a dedicated assistant, and they would watch them. But again, that person would want to take time off or things like that. So the idea of MyVirtualPro was the idea was to create a team of individuals so you didn't have those stopgaps in your business. The second thing is create a group of individuals that all helping each other, okay? Because in other ones, they're not all looking out for each other's backs. Because one thing that I think that you do differently is you're doing profit share and you're doing a percentage of help within the VAs, which is unheard of, by the way. Most of these people who are working in the Philippines or work whenever, they're probably only making $3 an hour, $4 an hour, although My Outdesk and other places are charging you $8 and $10 an hour. They're paying them chump change. And when I learned that, that's when I started hiring people out from under My Outdesk, because I thought they were being robbed. These people are being robbed for what they're doing. Okay. To tell you a little story about Gino, when I first hired him, I found out My Outdesk was only paying him $3 an hour, although they were charging me $8. And I was irate because I found out that he was getting up in the morning and he was taking public transportation for 2.5 hours, riding buses and trolleys in order to get to a place where he had good enough internet that he could work for me for 8 hours a day, during the night, and then ride the commute back 2 hours to get to his house so he could take care of his kids, all for $3 an hour. I said, hell no. Okay. So I made him an offer, and I said, hey, listen, you're gonna have to quit My Outdesk. You're gonna have to sever your contract, but I'll help you on the backside here. But what they were doing to him was wrong. Yeah. So we created My Virtual Property Pro and stuff wasn't just to fill a need for people who needed it. But I'll be honest, because we have so low overhead, and I don't know if they're just building other people or what it looks like. Our virtual assistants make more than your average virtual assistant over there, and they work together as a team. And I found when you get that environment, we're just getting a much, much better product. I am respectful for their time constraints that, I only want to work them from 9 to 5 or whatever that is. But I will tell you that when you take really good care of people, every once in a while I'm surprised to catch them working outside work hours or just doing stuff for me because they appreciate what we've created here. And that to me is pretty awesome. The fact that Gino, to give you another example, was able to help his family out, right, with their farm and lend money to his family in order to help get some impoverished people back on their feet, after a hurricane or typhoon, or that, his kids are now in a really good school closer to where he lives, or he doesn't have to communicate 2 hours anymore because he was able to afford a house where there's better internet so he can work. you know, then it's like, this is awesome. Like, I don't think we realize being in the United States, even though you're like, gosh, I'm hiring these people for $5, $7, $8 an hour. Guys, that's huge money. Like the average person over there, even nursing assistants and medical, make $3 or $4 an hour. So when we're paying $5 and $6 or $7 an hour, we're changing lives. And so in creating a really good service at the same point, at the same time. And I can't tell you how much I really love that, right? Like I guess we lose perspective, and I'll end on this note because we're wrapping up. I don't know if you have interviewed anybody lately in the United States, and I'm not here to badmouth anything, but it seems like it's really hard to find people who have that are focused on family. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure my kids are taken care of and stuff. It is the exception, not the norm. A lot of times when you're hiring a new assistant, you know, they're like, I want to buy a car, I want to get this, I want stuff. I tell you what, when you talk to these people in the Philippines, you talk to these people in other places who I guess haven't lived such a blessed life as we have, man, they're like, how do I take care of my kids? Like the character of these individuals I have found is remarkable. They're remarkable people. I'm really, really proud to help give jobs and give opportunities. And they work for you like nobody's else, and they're patient and they're kind and they're just well-mannered. Nothing against people in the United States. I love giving people in the US jobs, and I employ a lot of people here, believe me. And if I can spread the blessings across some borders and help these people out, I love it. It's great. So where are the best places to get VAs? You know, we researched that, just so you know. You can go different places and look for different VAs, but eventually someone needs to be on the ground making sure these people are actually working for you. So one thing my virtual assistant does is there's actually an office where these people come in, and there's computers and they're all working side by side. They're in an environment, okay? Now during COVID, we were working several people from the house, and some of that got distributed back to their house, but there is an office space. And the reason we wanted that environment is so that if you gave somebody a task and they weren't sure how to do it, they could lean over or they could ask the other group and go, hey, has anybody done this before? Can you help me? Yeah. So where's the best place to get VAs? I would say my virtual assistant, you know, the one that we're talking about here. Is there others? Yes, but I can't vouch for what they do. I know that my virtual assistant, I've had a lot of input on how it's done, because basically I was using VAs. I'd hired them myself. They were working strictly for me. And we started opening up these people and started saying, hey, listen, guys, you guys do such a great job for me. You're so good. You know, I'm paying you to stand around with your hands in your pockets at times because you become so efficient, but I don't want, like, let's put you to work helping other people.
Yeah.
And so we kind of grew it from there. Anything that we're missing? We're coming up on the end of our clock. I just, anything else important that you guys have? Throw it in the chat box. Alex, anything in closing?
I'd just like to thank everybody for their time and giving me a chance. I think I'll echo Kevin's thing, is the real point of MyVirtualPro is to help you guys grow your business and to provide high quality employees for you at a valuable price. And I hope that we can have further conversation with some of you guys. I've left my information in the chat. If you chat me your information or put it in the thing, I'll reach out to you guys a little bit later on, but thank you.
One other thing I want to close with that's really awesome: being able to pay employees with a credit card and get airline miles for it is pretty freaking awesome. So, I mean, you know, all my trips are paid for. That's the one thing you can't do. If you have employees in the United States, you have somebody working in your office, it's real hard to pay them with a credit card and then pay it off at the end of the month and get airline miles for that. I don't know anybody who's able to do that, but you can do that with, you know, MyVirtualPro. So, all right, guys, if you have any other questions or concerns, appreciate you guys showing up. Hey, if you guys have any additional information, just call me directly, 529-2289. You know my contact information. If you want more information or you want to talk about how VAs can help you in your business, just reach out to me. I'm happy to have that one-on-one conversation with you. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great day.